Hello there, my name's Louise Clare. I'm a Wellbeing Advisor from the Wellbeing Support team here at Royal Holloway University. Today we're going to be having a talk about procrastination, and we're also going to be looking at some tips to support with procrastination and try and help. In today's session, we will cover an overview of procrastination and how it affects our daily lives. And we'll also look at the causes of procrastination, as that can be quite helpful when we look at ways to deal with procrastination and to try and overcome it as best we can. So what is procrastination? So it really differs and looks differently depending on the individual, but here are some common signs that you are procrastinating, and these may resonate with you. So a big one, avoiding or putting off work. So it's really common to avoid starting a task or finishing a task, especially our academic workload. When we don't really want to do something, procrastination thrives. It's also common to put off doing tasks we need to do, even though we know that this could lead to negative consequences. This can then lead to a bit of a cycle of feeling guilty, but continuing to procrastinate and feeling more guilty. And it's a bit of a negative spiral for us. Another sign is that we spend hours on other pursuits rather than the task at hand, especially if that task is a priority, but we find ourselves watching TV, for example, online shopping, social media scrolling. So we're choosing activities that provide us with instant reward, so it makes us feel good in the short term, but we're choosing those activities over something that will make us feel better in the long run for that long-term reward. Here are some further common signs that you procrastinate. So feeling like you need last minute pressure to complete a task is very common with procrastination. So we give ourselves a false sense of comfort that a task will take less time than it needs to. So that means we keep putting it off and off and wait until the last minute, until there's a large amount of pressure to complete the task. So for example, at university, this could look like doing all-nighters a night or two before a deadline, and really feeling like we need that pressure to do any work, to start or finish a task. Another common sign is waiting for the motivation or the right frame of mind to reach you. This is a common mistake that many people believe, that if we just wait a bit longer, we might feel more motivated to complete a task, or maybe I'll feel more motivated tomorrow, for example. But often we find this motivation does not arrive, and therefore the task gets delayed from being started or finished for even longer. So why do we procrastinate? There are many different causes of procrastination, and it can be seen that there is a link genetically, that some people are more likely to procrastinate than others. That doesn't mean there are things we can't do to try and lessen that procrastination. There's always things that we can do to help ourselves, but it's an interesting fact to understand. So here are some of the causes. So not knowing where to start with a project or an assessment or an assignment is really common. That can really put us off starting that task. Maybe not understanding the task, that can again really make us not motivated to start the task, because there's a lack of understanding of what we need to do to get there. Having no interest in the task and whether it gets done. Sometimes we really lack motivation in periods of our lives. We may be doing a module, for example, that doesn't interest us as much as others. So it can be really hard to start or finish the task in these situations. Well, there are also a lot of medical or mental health causes that can make procrastination worse. For example, depression, ADHD, OCD, anxiety. Often as well, it can become a habit to procrastinate, a habit to wait until last minute. And this can be a habit that we've been practicing for many years throughout school life as well, for example. A lot of people who have procrastination in their lives believe that they work better under pressure, but this belief then enforces us to procrastinate even further, often underestimating the task. How long it will take to complete can also be another cause of procrastination, thinking that we've got longer than we have, or just putting it off for longer and longer, thinking that it would be okay to be done last minute. Favouring a different task and spending time on this instead, especially if we're more motivated for that other task. So this could look like focusing on something outside of our academic pursuits, or focusing on a different module that we understand a bit better. Again, that can be a big cause of procrastination. Also, being a perfectionist, this is widely known to cause procrastination, because we put off a task for as long as possible because we're so worried about not being able to complete it perfectly. So that then puts us off from starting at all. And another common cause of procrastination is taking on too much and not having enough time to manage all your tasks. This may be, for example, a week before several deadlines at once, and therefore it all becomes a bit too overwhelming and we just don't know where to start, and it feels like there's not enough time left to do anything, and that can then cause that spiral of procrastination as well. What are the impacts of procrastination? Procrastination can seep into all aspects of our day-to-day lives, so it's not just with our studies. It's if it's a deeply ingrained habit, it can affect many different areas of our life. This can look like putting off paying bills or fees, putting off buying gifts for others, putting off exercising or doing something that makes us feel good. So not doing self-care and putting this off. This can in turn increase our stress levels and make the situation even worse and put us further behind on our studies. It can cause relationship difficulties, impact on accommodation, impact on our money finance situation, which in turn has other impacts. So procrastination really does impact on our lifestyle, especially when it's a habit ingrained in our daily lives. Here are some tips to overcome procrastination. First tip is visualize doing your work. So what this means is having a think about in your mind, you sitting down at your desk or your laptop and visualize yourself doing that work. So don't wait to feel motivated, and have a think of things that need doing most immediately. You can write this down as well, but first of all, just visualize this in your mind. Have a think about everything that you need to do and what's a priority. And although this can feel overwhelming, just have a few minutes to visualize this. Some tips to overcome procrastination. Another tip is to break things down into small steps and to make a to-do list. So now we've visualized, we're going to actually physically write down our list. So try not to make this list too big if possible, or long, as this could be very overwhelming. And there can be a lot of satisfaction from having a list, being able to cross things off as you go. Even if some things on your list are very small and shouldn't take longer than 5 minutes, still write them down if you can, because then you get that satisfaction of crossing it off your list. It would be really good to use pen and paper rather than writing a list on your phone, for example, as there's less opportunities for distractions, such as scrolling on social media, and it can be a lot more satisfying to physically tick that list off as we go. It can be really good as well to sort into priorities based on what needs to be done really urgently and what's less urgent, and which tasks are most important or hold the most weight, and which tasks are the least important and don't hold as much weight, for example, less academic weighting. Once you do start with one of your tasks, sometimes it can help putting a timer on for 20 minutes or so and just trying to get as much done for one of those items of your list as you can within that 20-minute time period. Once you reach that 20-minute time period, if you feel like stopping, you can, and you can give yourself a reward for being able to focus within this 20-minute period. You may feel though that once you've begun the task, you actually want to continue because you've actually now got involved in the task. You may not, and that's okay, but if this does happen, you are welcome to go with that flow. If you find that you get distracted very easily, you can use your brain to your advantage. So switching between different mini tasks that are related to the overall task is still focusing on that task and is still getting something done. So allow yourself to do that, and eventually the overall task will get completed. Tips to overcome procrastination. So another tip is to minimize distractions in your environment around you. So putting your phone away, that is a big one. Physically somewhere you can't reach it, so you cannot be tempted to open it. So if you're focusing on a task for 20 minutes, putting your phone in another room for that, giving it to your housemate or your flatmate so that you cannot get distracted on your phone for that period of time that you wish to focus. Maximizing your environment to suit your needs is really important. Some people find that music on really helps them focus, especially classical music, or some people find that they need complete silence, so finding a place that they can study silently. Some people find that studying outside of their bedroom where they sleep is really important, and to be in that new environment. So that could look like a cafe or a library. It could be in London, it could be the library on campus. It really just is based on individual needs and what works for you. Some people find that they work better at night, some people find they work better in the daytime. Again, there is no right or wrong approach, but it's just working out what works best for you to be as motivated and as much as you possibly can be. Again, it can help a lot of people to work with a trusted friend in a quiet place, because then you can hold each other accountable, just as you sometimes would go to the gym with a friend to exercise, to hold each other accountable. It means that you have to be there and focus on that task for a period of time, but just be aware of distracting each other. So choose that friend wisely, and hopefully you can focus together. And it would be really good to, although you're putting your phone away, is for a period of time, for example, the week before a deadline, is to delete apps that encourage doom scrolling. So scrolling endlessly and getting trapped in that cycle of looking at video after video, or you know, before you know it, an hour has passed and nothing's been completed. So deleting those apps, even if it's only temporarily, can really help with focusing on the task at hand. Some tips to overcome procrastination. Recognizing if you feel the urge to procrastinate, and force yourself to do one thing from your list, even if it's just for a few minutes. So it's just really forcing ourselves to do something, even if it's just for a short period of time. Reward yourself once you've completed an element of your task. It doesn't have to be the whole task, but if you've done a little bit, reward yourself with something you enjoy. If you've deleted apps, you can re-download them for a period of time when you've completed a task and you've ticked it off your to-do list. And definitely reward yourself with something you like to eat or drink, whether that's a nice cup of tea or a snack. Do that. If you've managed to complete a few different aspects of your task and crossed a few things off your to-do list, you could buy something that you thought about buying for a little while as well as a reward, within reason, of course. How we wake up in the morning can have a huge impact on how our whole day goes. So if you wanted to start the day afresh, if you've had a bad day the day before, my top tip would be to plug your phone in somewhere else to charge overnight and use an alarm clock that's not linked to your phone to wake up. When you wake up, don't look at your phone at all if you can, and spend some time doing a task. Once you're done, and once you've done that task, you can reward yourself with your phone after this is done. Not having your phone first thing when you wake up can really impact how the rest of your day goes and how productive it can be as well. Although this talk has covered some ideas and to help with procrastination, if you do feel like you have an undiagnosed condition affecting your ability to focus, it's a really good idea to seek support from your GP as well. Their support from your GP could look like pathway to diagnosis support, medication, and any therapeutic support that can help you manage your symptoms. So in addition to the tips that have been described. It's really important to remind yourself that most of the battle with procrastination is linked to that dread of starting the task. Once you have actually forced yourself to start it, usually it begins to feel more manageable the more you do, and your motivation can then increase. It's just getting through that first initial period of starting. Be kind to yourself as much as you can, as each day is a new day. If you've had a bad day, tomorrow is a new day. It's normal to procrastinate as a human being, but of course we want to try and help ourselves focus as much as possible. Some top tips again for procrastination. So if you can do a quick task, so less than 2 minutes, just do it straight away, get it done. This can immediately boost your productivity because you've already completed a task. Even if it was just a short task, this is brilliant. You can also try following the 3-3-3 rule. So in a given day, this would look like working out what's your most crucial task. So what's the biggest priority and the most important combined. And you would spend 3 hours, if possible, on this longer task, broken up into chunks with breaks in between. So you'd spend 3 hours on a longer task, and then you would complete 3 shorter tasks that take less of your cognitive load. So they're less demanding on your brain, but you can complete those 3 shorter tasks in addition. And then do 3 life admin activities unrelated to your studies. Ideally something you enjoy as well, or that's for your overall well-being. So this could look like journaling, clearing out emails that you've been meaning to clear out for a while, exercising, and that would be the 3-3-3 rule. So 3 hours on a longer task, complete 3 shorter tasks, and 3 life admin or self-care activities. Top tips for procrastination. Remember, it's really important to get the basics right before we begin to start with a task. So that includes moving every day, ideally getting outside when we can, creating a routine around your sleep, trying to maximize the amount of hours you get, ideally overnight, so that supports with your circadian rhythm. Eating nutritious meals as much as possible, and snacks as well, three meals a day and snacks in between meals, and creating a good routine. So it can be really hard to have a sense of routine at university, especially if you have limited hours in contact at the university. So try and establish a routine for yourself from the start. It really helps to look after your basic needs, and everything else hopefully will follow. Top tips for procrastination. So it's really important to remember, even though university might be an amazing experience overall, it can't be amazing all the time and every day. So reach out for support when you need it. Reach out to your wellbeing advisors, and we will be here to support you with a one-to-one appointment. We can tailor tips specifically to you, as every individual is different. Flowers don't bloom all year round, and nor can we expect ourselves to. It's okay to have periods of time where our motivation decreases, but what we want to do is to look towards the future and focus on having a more positive experience too. Some key messages to remember surrounding procrastination: establish a routine and break up your task as much as possible with a to-do list. Create that environment that helps boost your productivity. If you need help with this, knowing what might support you best, come and have a chat with a wellbeing advisor and we can help support you work out what works best for you. Manage your expectations of yourself and recognise when you're procrastinating. Once we recognise we're procrastinating, we can start to tackle it. Give yourself rewards when you do complete tasks, and it's really important to focus on sleep, resting, your social life as well. That self-care is just as important as completing tasks. Please do reach out to us at wellbeing@royalholloway.ac.uk and we can book an appointment to support you.